Shalom, Kal Halayim La, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, double honors to the elder bishops, a great millstone as GMS. Peace and blessings to the Akim and a few Akwat across the four winds. This is Batamayam coming to you with another lesson. Now, I saw this from ABC 13 Houston, which is the local news channel. 3 teen sisters arrested for trying to delete their mom after she turned off the Wi-Fi. HCSO goes into Harris County, which is Houston's county sheriff's office, says. So the prophecies are continuing to pop off. We're seeing more and more how these precepts are jumping off of the page. You know, you have 3 daughters against their mother. Well, one of my first questions was, where was the dad? You know, was he deceased? You know, I didn't really go too much in depth, but you could tell that that house is out of order. You know, it's a lot of single moms, especially from the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Single motherhood, especially real big with the Southern Kingdom, which are the so-called Negroes, the West Indians, and the Haitians, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But the first precept I had was Matthew chapter 10, verse 35. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. So mainly here, the daughter against the mother. And it goes into to set them at variance, which means to set them apart. You know, they're warring against each other. These demons are being activated, especially on the females of our nation. When you go into Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8 and verse 9, 2/3 of the nation of Israel is going to be cut off and perish. They're going to be deleted on this side. But most of that 2/3 is going to go into whom? The females of our nation, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and the Hispanics. But the more and more, you know, we get into prophecy, Matthew chapter 24, verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. You know, and iniquity goes into sin. You know, they're not honoring their mother or their I don't want to say their father, but they're not honoring their mother in this situation, which we're commanded to honor our mother. You know, this being under the rulership of Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, brothers and sisters can't necessarily train up their child in the way that they're supposed to go. Teach them the scriptures, because once they go to school, you know, they're exposed to this wine, these philosophies that Esau Edom is pushing. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So we're supposed to train up our seed, our children, under the law, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures to the best of our ability, you know. Of course, we're in captivity. We can't keep all of them, but hey, we can push forward, you know, an effort to strive to be perfect, like our Lord Yahweh Shai. Mark chapter 3, verse 25, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So this house is divided. You know, these teens are going to get charged. They're going to be in juvenile. They're going to be separated from their parents. But, hey, ultimately, this whole system is going to fall, because starting with the top, the so-called elites, you know, they're against one another. And we're seeing more and more on the daily that, hey, this place is crumbling from the top to the bottom. You know, Esau Edom and the nigger woman, virtually, they do the same thing. As you read in the book of Sirach, as the leaders are, so are the people, just roughly paraphrasing. So that trickles down onto the females of our nation, and even the males. You know, it's a house divided. Even when, you can see that when Donald Trump was running against Kamala Harris, it was a lot of division in the household between male and female, which is very strategic by Esau Edom. He wants to cause division. But Deuteronomy 30 and 7, hey, that division is going to start, those curses are going to start to hop on you other heathen nations, starting with Esau Edom. But a house is divided, is against itself. The house cannot stand. They can't stand because there's no order. You're supposed to have a righteous order in your household. First Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. You know, everything must be done decently in order according to the scriptures. You know, so it's a righteous order that the Lord has set up, which, you know, statistics have come out where there's a single dad in the house is just as good as having a two-parent home, because it goes back to having that discipline. But you're supposed to have a man in the house. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 3, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Yahawashi Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahawashi Mashiach is Yahweh power. So the Most High is Yahweh, whom the world ignorantly calls God. Then it's his only begotten Son, Yahawashi, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Then it's the man, then it's the woman. So coming up under that righteous order, having things done decently in order, it must be done in that correct order, to where the woman doesn't usurp the authority of a man, which this place is backwards, but that's part of the curses also. It says the woman shall compass a man to be over them, to be in rulership. And even more the kids now, that the kids are making more decisions than their parents. As you can see here, 3 teens arrested for trying to delete their mom, only because she turned off the Wi-Fi that she's paying for. I'm guaranteed those teens, they feel entitled. You know, you can't discipline them. You know, you can't get them in a correct order, because they'll say, you know, some type of mental illness, or, you know, some type of abuse, you know, if you try to get them right. But that's part of Esau Edom's wine, of not having the order in the house, because where there's no order, there's chaos. Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're supposed to honor our father and our mother. You're supposed to have honor unto your parents. And then I'll end it off here. Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 30, verse 3. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. You know, a parent, when you're doing right, especially according to the scriptures, your parents will rejoice over you. Your light is starting to shine. You know, you start to set yourself apart from other kids when you're being taught the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, because Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, is pushing forth these philosophies to where the kids don't listen to their parents anymore, or the great grandparents, you know, grandparents. You know, there's no respect for the elders. But even in this truth, you know, we're supposed to have, you know, respect amongst the ranks. Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 verse 4. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he have left one behind him that is like himself. So being a reflection of your dad, just like how Yahawashi is a reflection of Yahawashi. You know, we're supposed to be walking perfect. It's, you know, as close to being perfect as possible, you know, like Yahawashi, in that righteous order, Yahawashi, and then his men. But the women are supposed to get their order from the men, and that's supposed to trickle down onto the kids. But we're not going to get order until Yahweh sends Yahawashi, which is that one that is profitable. But Lord willing, this quick hit was edifying to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Call Halayim La, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, double honors to the elder bishops. A great millstone is GMS. Peace and blessings to the Akim and a few Akwat across the 4 winds. Shalom.